we alone in the universe? Many theories claim that there's life on other planets, and honestly, when you look at how big our solar system is, it's safe to assume that we're not the only intelligent species in the universe. But then again, where are they? Many people say they've seen UFOs and witnessed strange events, but up until today, we still don't know for sure what it's like to be face to face with an honest-to-God alien. Or do we? Perhaps they're among us and we're not fully aware of it. Either way, there are many movies out there that can give us an idea of what these creatures look like. In today's video, we'll be looking at the top 10 movie aliens. Our first entry is Transformers. People have been waiting for these films after the success that the animated series had in the 80s. If you're not familiar with the Transformers, you probably could just see a bunch of cars turning into the big cool looking robots without realizing that they're more than cars. In fact, you could say that they're more than meets the eye. Wink wink. No, they are the Autobots and the Decepticons, alien species that come from another planet. And the story focuses on the battles that they have against each other after leaving Cybertron, which is their home planet. While the Autobots have faith in humanity, Decepticons are ready to destroy anything and anyone that stands against them. Throughout the numerous films and TV series, we see the Autobots form strong bonds with kind humans as they join forces to fight against evil humans and Decepticons. On that note, they're also adapting the popular Transformers series Beast Wars into a movie, and I am so excited about it! Yes! Sorry. Our next entry is Independence Day. Alien invasions have been explored through cinema in many ways, but Independence Day was quite outstanding as it targeted some of the most famous cities in the US right on Independence Day itself. New York, LA, and Washington, D.C. are threatened by outer space creatures, and it's up to the movie's heroes to stand up and fight for their country before it's too late. At some point, they take an unconscious alien to the infamous Area 51, which only feeds the theory that there are UFO secrets in that secluded area. Will Smith, Bill Pullman, and Jeff Goldblum are only some of the stars in the film. Some people were able to watch it on July 2nd, which is the date on which the story begins. That limited release only made people more excited about the movie, and eventually Independence Day went on to become one of the most popular disaster films in the mid to late 90s. Up until then, there really wasn't any big alien film that had a large-scale attack to invade our planet. Most of the films were about aliens infiltrating communities and hiding to slowly take over, or, burst out of your chest. But Independence Day took things to the next level, and that's why it became so successful. Our next entry is War of the Worlds. Before it was a movie, War of the Worlds was a sci-fi novel written by H.G. Wells, but then Steven Spielberg turned it into a huge movie starring Tom Cruise, Dakota Fanning, and massive, ugly-looking creatures that were trying to take over the world with disintegration beams. Simply by listening to the opening narration, you'll realize that the extraterrestrials in this movie have no compassion for humankind. The narration explains that they've been watching us for a long time and they're ready to take everything from us. I'd honestly be more worried about these kinds of aliens, but honestly, I'd kill them if I just sneezed on them. Also, more notoriously, the original radio script for this screenplay actually sent people into frenzies, believing at the time that there were actually aliens attacking. That's one heck of a legacy to live up to. Our next entry is The Blob. What is the oldest film about aliens that you have watched? Is it a movie from the early 2000s, from the 90s, the 80s maybe? Well, if you watch The Blob, you'll get to see a gelatinous monster from outer space that is threatening people's lives. That's the idea of aliens that people had in the 50s. Not creative, but still pretty terrifying. The real question here is, how did this thing reach our planet? Well, it came with a meteorite that crashed against Earth. The monster starts its journey by eating entire communities of innocent citizens in Pennsylvania. And then it just becomes bigger and redder and more aggressive every time it eats something. This movie might sound silly to many of us, but it's actually quite popular among the fans of Steve McQueen since it was the first feature film that he did as a lead actor. He played teenager Steve Andrews, the person who witnesses the meteorite crash. Our next entry is Signs. In the mid to late 2000s, M. Night Shyamalan made a handful of movies that were not welcomed by a wide audience. In fact, a lot of people like I did just now ended up making fun of his films. And when he made his version of The Last Airbender, a lot of Avatar fans just got angry at him, me included. But in the 90s and early 2000s, he made some films that were pretty successful and, at the time, scary. He made The Sixth Sense, The Village, and a movie called Signs, for which he used the same terror logic that Steven Spielberg used in Jaws. But what does that mean exactly? Well, it means that the less you show, the scarier it gets. Science follows a priest played by Mel Gibson as he tries to defend his home from an alien invasion. The creepy part about this film is that we never really get a clear view of the aliens, but knowing that they're somewhere out there watching us and threatening our lives is more than enough to make us feel scared. Probably not the type of film you want to watch right before you go to bed. Our next entry is Mars Attacks. If you know about Tim Burton, then you know that the guy is a visionary. He reimagined Beetlejuice, Batman, Willy Wonka, and many other characters that we're all familiar with. And in 1996, Tim Burton showed the world what an alien invasion would look like in his universe. That being Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks follows a group of aliens as they seek to peacefully meet with the President of the US. But when they start destroying cities, we realize that the aliens in this movie are anything but peaceful. In this film, you can find stars such as Jack Nicholson, Sarah Jessica Parker, Glenn Close, and a very young Natalie Portman. The screenplay of this film was based on a trading card series, and it's been said that Tim Burton made this film to pay homage to Ed Wood, an unlucky filmmaker who made bad sci-fi films in the 1950s, including one called Plan 9 from Outer Space. Honestly, this film actually does scare me just because look at the friggin' designs of the aliens! It's so unsettling! Our next entry is Arrival. If aliens exist and they decide to come to Earth, how are we gonna communicate with them? Do we speak the same language? Do we use sign language? Do we, punch them? That's the question that Arrival does try to answer. I mean, the film is way deeper than that, but the main premise of the film is how a group of scientists can communicate with an extraterrestrial species. In this movie, Amy Adams plays the role of Louise Banks, a linguist who gets close to two aliens that look like big octopuses. Louise's work partner calls them Abbott and Costello, and Louise's main goal is to figure out why the aliens are visiting our planet. Overall, this movie teaches us about working together with each other despite our differences. It's one of the few sci-fi films that focuses more on the emotions of the characters rather than the destruction the aliens could cause. Our next entry is Alien Abduction: Incident in Lake County. This movie was made in the 80s and it was very low budget, and eventually people did end up forgetting about it. Years later, however, Dean decided to give his idea another try. This time he raised more money and hired professional actors, and let me tell you, his efforts paid off. He produced a film called Alien Abduction: Incident in Lake County, an 86-minute film that follows a family celebrating Thanksgiving Day when a UFO crashes near their home. The family starts to experience all sorts of strange events while the protagonist of the film holds onto his handheld video camera. You can even get glimpses of the aliens as they try to attack the family and get closer to them. The fact that the film is an in-home recording format gives you that eerie feeling that not many sci-fi films can accomplish. Now it's time for the day's best pick. Have I mentioned your favorite movie yet? If not, it might be one of the two films at the top of the list. And if you looked at the picture that I chose today, then you already know the creature I'm about to mention. Know its name? Well, let's just start with Alien. With 6 movies, multiple video games, an upcoming video game that I'm looking forward to personally, a web series, and even a play, Alien is perhaps the biggest franchise with an outer space creature as its main subject. It all started back in the late 70s when Ridley Scott made a horror sci-fi film about an extraterrestrial that's threatening the lives of the crew inside a space tug called the Nostromo. What makes the alien beast so scary is the fact that it invades human bodies and kills off its host as the alien's offspring arrives. The movies are full of grotesque and sinister moments that have been haunting audiences since the 1980s, as well as allowing us to parody it several times. In recent years, some prequels were made and there's a TV series that is currently in development. The first Alien movie came out shortly after another franchise of extraterrestrial creatures called Predator came out. That's why the movie studios brought the two franchises together to make what we now know as Alien vs. Predator. So I guess these franchises will be in our lives for a very long time. You know, for number 1, I actually did want to put Predator here, but there was one other movie that kinda outclassed him. Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. That being E.T. The film follows a young boy named Elliot who discovers an extraterrestrial who has been left behind by his fellow aliens. The main goal of the movies is for Elliot and his friends to help E.T. get back to his home without attracting too much attention. After all, adults are probably not the best people to trust with E.T.'s secrets, so the kids in the movie decide to take matters into their own hands. Throughout the movie, the children and E.T. form a special bond, teaching us important lessons about friendship and acceptance. The movie was made almost 40 years ago and it's become an instant classic. Filmmakers can go ahead and try to make more movies about friendly aliens, but I don't think any of them will ever be as good as E.T. was. So, what do you think aliens look like? Are they cute and friendly like E.T., or are they something we should be afraid of? And if they do exist, do you think we'd be able to communicate with them? How are we gonna know that they don't have bad intentions like the guys in Mars Attacks? Well, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to tell us who your favorite movie alien is. With all that said and done, that's our video for today, folks, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.